Hey, what's up, Jeff and Sachiko? This is a quick demo video for you for your Ultimate Works inheritance. Just got this done today. This is a really cool saber. First one I've seen of it. I did do a lot of modifications to install it the way I wanted to. So this install is a little tricky. I mean, it's not tricky, but there's just some things that you need to follow, okay? The chassis is completely removable, but it goes in the emitter. When you take it out, it comes out of the pommel. Okay, so what you want to do is come over here and unscrew this ring right here. All right, we'll just come over here and unscrew that. You want to be careful. It's hooked to the pommel, and after you screw this in so far, the pommel has two notches in it. It's going to be kind of hard to see. You can kind of see them right there, and those two notches line up with this notch and this notch. They don't lock in right away though. They lock in as you're screwing this in. So you want to be careful for that. But then after you take that off, you'll see your chassis right here. You can either come and pull it out like this. You can put your finger in the emitter and push a little bit, but from right here, you should be able to just take it right out. It does need to come straight out though. When I got this saber, the switch section had it had a connector on it already. It's not something you're going to be able to see. If I show you that, you could barely see those three prongs, right? It's a three-prong system like this guy right here. This is what I end up putting in because I didn't want to use their connector. If I used it, I'd have to make a piece of a chassis that's stuck in here and stayed here, and then I'd only have the back part, and I wouldn't be able to fit everything that I fit on this chassis. All right, so what I did, with Jeff's permission, I came in here, I took the switch box off, I did a little bit of Dremel work so I could open up the hole. That way I could model something to hold those three pins in there, and they stick down into the chassis or like into the socket area. That way we could do a completely removable unit and your switches are wireless. All right, and then what I mean by that, if you look over here on your chassis, you have this channel, and this channel is what lines up with those three prongs in the saber. But once you push this all the way into the saber, those three prongs make contact with this three trace, this PCB type thing here, right? I don't know exactly what it's called. All right, it's a three trace something, but it makes a connection with those, and that's how your switches work. You've got an OLED screen here. I wanted to do a little something for you. This is a 0.99-inch chassis. There wasn't a whole lot of room to do much, so I threw in an OLED screen here. It does have removable battery right here, so I try to hide all the wires there. You've got a Smuggler's Outpost speaker back here, 24 millimeter. I did a little something to the handle here just to match the handle on the actual saber. And then you've got, of course, CC sabers in here for your NeoPixel connector. All right, and there is an optional hole right here. You'll see that hole. That hole lines up with the middle screw right here. If you look at it from the side, I can get that glare off of it. There's three screws here. In the middle, I have a small set screw. This isn't going to be the one that you'll want to use if you even decide to use it, which I don't. I put this in here for a placeholder. That way, a longer one wouldn't be sticking out. But there's actually two set screws inside your box that I'll be sending back with the saber. You'd want to use that if you decide to go this route, all right? I've noticed that when I put this chassis in, I don't need to lock it down with a set screw. It stays nice and tight, exactly where it's supposed to be. But if over time this thing gets loose and it starts to wiggle a little bit on you, or for whatever reason, and you feel like it's something that you need to lock down, I modeled that hole right there so that you could put a set screw in that middle hole and it would line up and you could lock it down that way. All right. So that's what that hole is for. All right. Much like food, right? This saber is going to eat the chassis on one end and then it's going to come out the other end when you want to take the battery out. So you just have to remember that. We're going to go ahead and we're going to put the pommel back on. Be careful with the threads. They are not fragile, but they're just thin. You just want to screw it in so much until you get those notches to lock up, and then you can screw this in the rest of the way. Don't try to over tighten it. If you do, it'll be hard to get it back off. All right, so just kind of hand tighten it a little bit. It's good to go. So we can put this off to the side. I got all the fonts on here that you sent me. So I got the dual that had both the Ronin and the Bandit fonts. I got the child font on there. I got Project Stardust on there as well. All right, so we'll go ahead and we'll throw a battery in this guy. This is the battery I'm sending with no sticker. That way it fits in there nice. Okay, so we'll, you can see, you may not be able to read that, but it says Proffie version 6.7. That's your battery meter. So your battery's pretty full, kind of bouncing back and forth, but it's pretty full. When you put this saber or this chassis in the saber, you need to make sure that this channel is lined up with the top of the switch box so that these three prongs, you can kind of see them right there, so that these three prongs can ride along this channel until they make contact, okay? If I could show you it from right here, you could see, try to do it with one hand, the switch box is lined up with the channel and everything's good there, right? So we'll just go ahead, take this, push it all the way in until it hits the back of the pommel. It's meant to rest on the back of the pommel. Now, you can lock it down, like I said, if you need to, but I've found that I don't need to. We come over here and hit activation. Auxiliary. I did give you twist off. So when you put a blade in this guy, the chassis will be super tough. All right, it'll be super locked in place, and that's why I said you probably don't need to lock it down. This does take a 1-inch diameter NeoPixel blade, so we'll throw that in. Push it straight in. My blade is fitting just a little snug in this, and I've sanded my blade. It hasn't been sanded a whole lot, but it has been sanded. If you have a brand new blade, you'll probably end up having to do some sanding as well. All right, so I'm going to do, there's 4 retention screws on this guy all along this emitter here. I'm just going to use one for the sake of this demo. If you want to get, swinging this guy around pretty wild, you might use 2, but I don't think you need to use all 4. All right. Very solid. And your blade lockup is holding down the aux and hitting the saber. You see it right here. And of course, it moves up and down the blade according to how you move the saber. To play your soundtrack, it's a long press on the power. And then another long press to turn it off. Just like that, and then hit auxiliary to change sound fonts.
Disgraceful.
Now, of course, this saber comes with a giant tassel that looks really cool. It's not very cool to try to do a demo with it, so I packed it and I put it in your box, but it is in your box. All right. Child. Project Stardust. Good flash on class. Just like that. And we'll go ahead and take the blade out, and then we'll go over taking the chassis out one more time so you can see what I mean by, same thing we did at the beginning, basically, to take it out, but we'll do it again. The bad thing about using only one retention screw is I have to find out which one it is, which one of these 4 I actually use. I think it's the last one I tried right here. Let's loosen that a little bit. Pull the blade out. Now, don't take the chassis out through the front because those pins are at an angle. I'll try to take this chassis out and explain that better. You don't want to break the pins, and you will if you try to take it out through the emitter. All right, so we took the pommel out we can go ahead and come over here, pull this straight out. And then from the positive side of the battery over here by the speaker, you should be able to pop it out with your finger just like that. So what I was saying is it is definitely not something you're going to be able to catch on camera. But when you get this in person, you might see those three prongs, they come down into the saber at an angle, and kind of like this, and then the chassis kind of rides along it. But if you try to take it out of the emitter, you're going to kind of break them, right? So you don't want to do that. Just kind of ride along, take it right out the same or the opposite direction we put it in. But hopefully that makes sense. If you got any questions, let me know. If not, I will get this guy out in the mail to you Monday because it's Friday. My post office is closed on Saturday. One more thing is that I did go through and I glued in all of these greeblies for you. The only two that I did not glue in are like one right here and one right here because these small screws that are in here would not allow me to put these greeblies on and have it look right. So you have a couple extra in your box that I didn't put on, but all the rest of them got put on. Okay. Anyways, that's your inheritance. Let me know if you got any questions. Thanks.